coast to coast, it's your hosts, the Lombardi Leap and Mersey FB. This is Beyond the Frozen Tundra.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, the Lombardi Leap, here with Mersey FB. Let's talk Packers football. Specifically, Jeff Hafley down to South Beach, Miami, Florida. And it's going to be interesting here to kind of see what takes place, what takes shape over the next couple of days, who goes with him, who stays. But more importantly here, the Packers have some questions now, too. They got a hole to fill again. After 2 years, as we know, they let go of Joe Barry or didn't renew his contract, if I recall correctly. And that led to the hiring of Jeff Hafley. And now we have to hire another defensive coordinator here. And it is kind of important to note a couple things here as we're looking at these defensive coordinators today. Hafley kind of shifted very much away from the Fangio style theme. He shifted away from a 3-4 format and went to a 4-3 scheme here, which I think a lot of the players ended up looking better in, specifically LVN. This Packers roster is young. There are some potential holes that any defensive coordinator is going to look at, specifically cornerback is arguably one of the biggest needs we've talked about this all season, up and down until we are blue in the face. I think with the injuries that took place to Devontae Wyatt, it exposed, and the fact that you traded away Kenny Clark, who was a potential cap casualty this offseason anyways, you have a hole at defensive tackle, and then you also have a potential hole at linebacker with Quay Walker being a free agent as well. So I've kind of broken up, or I should say, we've kind of broken up these possible defensive candidates here, defensive coordinator candidates, into 3 tiers here. Tier 1, these are proven NFL defensive coordinators. These are guys who have had some time in the NFL, who have called plays, coached defenses, or have head coaching experience. Tier 2, these are your established coordinators. These are guys who are kind of DCs or in a DC adjacent position, I'd like to call it. They have a little bit more experience there. And then you have some really rising assistants. These are a lot of guys who are being interviewed here for defensive coordinator positions around the league. They're well respected. These are your pretty high upside guys kind of going on. First guy I want to talk about here is Raheem Morris, who's been getting a lot of buzz because he is part of that Shanahan tree. He has experience with Vance Joseph, as well as he's really good friends with Matt LaFleur. I know how I feel about Raheem Morris. I want to know, how do you feel about Raheem Morris?
So he was the Rams coordinator for 3 years. Over that time, he did win a Super Bowl, but he didn't produce a top, what?
I mean, DVOA, his highest was 5th in 2021.
Oh, his highest was 5th. Okay. So that was the year that they won.
And it was the year after Brandon Staley.
Yes. Importantly, after that, they did lose some key pieces in the defense. Like, pretty sure Aaron Donald called it quits around then.
Von Miller, I think, went to...
Who else? They didn't retain Von Miller. He went to the Bills. Ramsey started to show signs of regression. So with what he had, 18th is not bad. Like, that was before they got Verse and Fisk. Like, middle of the pack. You see the pieces that we have, and like, he ran a 3-4 in LA, did that for a little bit in Atlanta, then shifted to the 4-3 when I think they brought Albrecht over. I think we could survive in a 3-4, but you don't really want to do that. It depends on what schematically he's willing to do, but he was a head coach, so he'll have that kind of leadership in the room.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hire a head coach, if you want that head coaching experience, like, sure, Raheem Morris is it, but I just don't know how good of a defensive coordinator he is.
No, I understand that too. And then you see when he was at Atlanta, like, Jesse Bates one year looked great, and then the next year not so great. And then, like, Watts looked good, but, like, how much of that is, like, the actual position coach and how much of it is Raheem?
Yeah, I do hear you there. And I think
or
it's important
Albrecht.
to
So
note, like, this brings up an important point. In 2024, Raheem Morris brought in Jimmy Lake to be his defensive coordinator. Jimmy Lake
mhm.
was very much from the Fangio type. And I don't know, you remember Jimmy Lake? He was the head coach at Washington, the college. Yeah.
Washington, like the
Yeah, the
college.
college. Mhm. And
Yeah. Okay.
yep.
Just double
And
checking.
again, like, he does run very much Fangio type uh, schematics, and it didn't work out. Only lasted a year. So then
Mhm.
Raheem Morris brings in a guy who's the polar opposite of Jimmy Lake, Jeff Ulbrich.
Albrecht. Yeah.
And guess who kept their job? Yeah.
Albrecht.
So that kind of concerns me. Like, they're gonna fire the guy, the head coach, who it was supposedly his scheme, but
Mhm.
obviously the Falcons thought it wasn't, and then as well as Kevin Stefanski thought, okay, the reason is the defense got better wasn't because of Raheem Morris, it was because of Ulrich here. And I'm concerned that he is not good at his assistant coach, his staffing. And so while Raheem Morris has the apparently players love him, to me this just sounds like another Rich Bisaccia. This would be a Rich Bisaccia hiring.
Yeah, I could understand that. And schematically, I think that we could like I've said that living in base is not really what you want to do, no matter if you're like 3-4 or 4-3. It's kind of a nickel league now where you see that extra defensive back on the field more often than not. And then so you either do 4-2-5 or like 3-3-5.
Yes, yeah.
I think that I use this as an example a lot, but in the college level specifically, Georgia is kind of great at it, where they have like a linebacker type on the line of scrimmage,
Mhm.
along with three defensive
Yes,
linemen.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the Quintavious Johnson role, like the where you have Zayden Walker. That's kind of what they're great at, and I would like to see something like that adapted at the NFL level.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that would be interesting to see what they kinda do there. I do think that you can make the argument with Raheem Morris specifically that he does raise the floor at least a little bit, but I don't think he raises the ceiling nearly as much as, like, Jeff Hafley did, you know? Like, maybe they won't be as bad as they were towards the end, but I definitely don't think they'll be as good as they can potentially be.
I agree with that 100%.
And I think kind of getting into this next guy too, who I think is a little bit more in the vein of Jeff Hafley, certainly more controversial. He
Mhm.
is Brian Flores. He is the Vikings defensive coordinator his contract is up. He's the former Dolphins head coach, and he is currently suing the NFL because of what took place in Miami. So there's a little bit
Mhm.
of controversy there.
It's starting to feel like he was very right though
Yes,
about that,
yeah,
eh?
that they kind of
Because like Tua,
oh yeah.
Tua sucks.
Good
But
luck, Jeff Hafley.
other
That's
than
all I
that,
gotta say there. Glad we don't
um,
have to deal with that quarterback.
could I do a quick Flores point before you take over?
You can
Because I
say
know you
whatever you
really
want
like
about
him.
Brian Flores.
I think he's a great defensive coach. I don't think the team is set up for him to be successful
What makes you think
here.
that?
A lot. Well, also I think that his pressure looks are
That is
very one
fair.
dimensional. It's like he simulates pressure, yes, but it's always through like double mugging the line with the linebackers and running them through the A gap, or just outside the tackles. His pressure doesn't come like you rarely ever see anybody from depth or anything like that. They're all on the line of scrimmage. Secondly, the amount of blitzing leaves a lot of corners on an island. Like he likes to play a lot of cover
Yes, he
zero.
does.
And with what we've got on the team, good luck. Like I know like Micah could get to the quarterback before he could get the ball off, but like still, it won't matter.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I do think Brian Flores can be adaptable, but like you said, he's very, very pressure heavy. I mean, he schematically, he can do multiple fronts. Like, we know he can turn a defense around. Like, he's done that. And Minnesota's defense this year was by no means overflowing with talent. It was a lot of paper mache. I mean, there were some good players, but like Eric Wilson was your starting linebacker.
well, yeah, he had like good pieces, but you see what he did with Dallas Turner, Jonathan Grenard, Josh Metellus too. Like he's turned those guys into stars. We have those similar pieces, but
I don't
it's
know if I
like,
want him to use them that way. Like, I'm higher on Brian Flores
yeah,
than most just because, like, I love his mentality. I love what he brings. I do think that he does have some heavy disguises in there, and one of the things he makes quarterbacks' lives miserable, but here's my big but here. I think it's more towards he makes rookie quarterbacks or younger quarterbacks' lives miserable, and the more refined quarterbacks can have a little bit of an easier time because they just hit the hot rate off a blitz.
yeah. When you look at the PFF grades for Minnesota on the season defensively, the times they had their worst games were against Atlanta, Chicago, Philly, LA Chargers, Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, so that's like Aaron Rodgers, Lamar, Justin Herbert, Jalen
Does handle
Hurts,
the
and then
blitz
Caleb.
well. I know I criticize him, but the one thing he does handle
Yeah.
well, he does handle blitz as well. Yeah, and then, like, I guess with Brian Flores, it's much more of a personality, and I do like the aggressiveness, but he's definitely not on my he's probably not really in my top 5, like, anymore for defensive coordinators here. This guy the next guy we can kinda talk about, I don't think I don't think there's a chance here. I think he's too old. Like, Sean McDermott, he just got fired. He does have a little bit of a personality. He's a former Bills head coach. Does run a 4-3 base with multiple disguises. This to me is boring.
Well, it is boring, yes. We don't have a shot because he's just going to land on his feet somewhere, get another head coaching
Probably
job.
Arizona because nobody's gonna wanna go there except for him.
I think when you hear about what led to him getting fired from the Bills, I don't see why he would come to Green Bay defensive, at least just for the defense. Because when you're looking at it, like our
Oh,
rosters are
no, I
kind of
disagree with
similar
that. No, not at
defensively.
all. That roster is not good, like, at all whatsoever. I mean, they're pa
Okay, so aside from Micah Parsons and Xavier McKinney and Edgerrin Cooper, it's pretty fairly equivalent in my eyes.
I like Devontae Wyatt. Man, I don't know, man. This is definitely a discussion for
So Ed Oliver and Devontae White are equivalent to
we're
me. Ed Oliver is
yeah,
probably
we're
a
gonna
little
have some
better. Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa, Epineza, like they are better than everybody on our team not named Micah Parsons.
have some fun roster discussions.
Linebacker with Terrell Bernard, like yes, like that room you could say is worse. I think their cornerback group is better than what we've got. We have better safeties with X and Williams, and you could argue that Taron Johnson and Jonathan or Javon Bullard are on the same level, but like defensively, I think it's similar. Also, the defensive tackle room for the Bills is better
Yeah,
than
I
what
mean,
we
losing
have
Kenny Clark.
in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I could hear that. I mean, we're gonna have a fun
mm,
roster discussion. I know that. It's definitely like he's definitely more
yeah,
of a culture and structure builder, which I, again, I don't think you necessarily need that. You're like what I don't know what culture you're rebuilding on defense. You know what I mean? Like you got beat because of your corners were bad and you couldn't get to the quarterback. Like
yeah, it's
no,
not like
I
people
mean,
quit on the team. So,
Keish,
I mean,
Keysha,
one has, but
Keyshawn
other
Nixon
than
and
that, we
Rashawn
won't
Gary are
name names.
arguable.
Two,
I'll name names.
okay, yeah, well, they're not here
I will
next year
name
anyway.
names. You're getting paid more than I am. I'm gonna name names. Like, this is a Raheem Morris hire to me. Like, it's very in that similar vein thing. The kinda
Yeah.
guys who I wanna get into a little bit more here that I know there's a couple guys on here that you like. Aiden Durd under, McDonald there, who has done a great job. Obviously, he doesn't call plays. He is the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, but he can come to the Green Bay Packers because he would be calling plays here. He has I think and to me, this is probably one of my biggest reasonings for liking Dirt is communication. Communication, communication, communication. One of our
Mm,
biggest issues in the secondary, and that led to constant issues, was the lack of coverage communication, which blew up stuff all the time. I don't know why they couldn't figure it out. I don't, I think Jeff Hafley did the best he could in really masking a lot of their issues because of who Carrington Valentine, who Keyshawn Nixon are as players, and Nate Hobbs, I don't think ever caught on. Just he was so far behind from getting hurt. I think there's a lot to like there for Aiden Durden, and he also has connections to Micah Parsons, I believe. I believe he was the defensive line coach for Micah Parsons in Dallas a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's the
interesting.
only player on the current roster that has a connection, or only coach on the roster, uh, only player that he has a connection to a coach we're looking at today. He, again, multiple fronts there. Maybe he can pull Tariq Woolen over, you know, possibly to bring him in, or special teams, Rashid Shaheed. He's a free agent too as well. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
The kind of, issues I would say are like he does not have a very, very long roster in terms of experience-wise. I mean, he's part of a playoff team, like, that's more than anybody else here. He again, like, I'll give you his coaching career. London Warriors, 2011, 2016 defensive coordinator. Dallas Cowboys coaching intern. Atlanta Falcons Bill Walsh diversity coaching fellowship. Atlanta Falcons defensive quality and control coach for 2 years. Atlanta Falcons outside linebacker coach. Dallas Cowboys defensive line coach from 21 to 23. And then Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator. So it's a very, very short list. He's
He's Yeah, but he's gotten like his upward trajectory the whole way, which indicates like good
Mhm.
personality, smart
He's also
guy.
from Europe. Yeah.
Okay, that
Yes,
the
yeah.
London thing makes sense then. Um, this is another thing similar to Hafley, where like we'd hire him. I think we get him for like a year or two, and then he's hired away to be a head coach somewhere. I think he's getting head coaching, like he's getting looks at head coaching spots in some places. I think. At least that's some of the rumors.
I would like him. He's probably like maybe 2 or 3 on my list in terms of for coaches I would like.
Hmm. Important to note, the Seahawks finished tied for one, two, three, like sixth with in
Mhm.
sacks with 47. So he had a role in that. But as you say, the secondary concerns, especially watching what we've put on tape this past year, the communication or the lack thereof was clear. So bring someone in to help fix that, and then you kind of build the defensive line scheme as you go. That works too.
These 2 guys, these are more your guys, Gift Smith and Matt Burke. I'll let you talk about them.
Yeah, so Gift Smith, like when you look at what he's done recently with Verse, Fisk, Byron Young, like this guy develops defensive linemen. Currently he's the Rams defensive line coach, run game coordinator. This would be a promotion for him. I think he could call plays. He's been on the Rams staff for a while, I believe, but he's got the coaching experience. He's also, again, correct me if I'm wrong, he's survived a couple of defensive coordinator changes for the
Yeah,
Rams.
I mean, he's been there. He's been with the Rams since 2016. So going on 10 years.
I will say the downside to him is you would need to nail the secondary or like the position coach hires. He's never really called a defense on his own, and without like being there for 10 years now, you could look at it as kind of like an Adam Stenovich thing. Like, why has he never
Yeah,
gotten hired away? Yeah. So those are the kind of things I think like there is upside there depending on who you want. If you want to bring him in, he runs a similar scheme. He's a proven like defensive line developer. You could help the growth of LVN. You could help the growth of Warren Brinson and all these younger players. The second guy I'd like to mention, Matt Burke. He's the defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. He doesn't call plays because God damn it. D'Amico Ryans calls plays there, so this would be a promotion in the sense that he would get to call his own defense. When you look at what Houston does, they generally line up in a 4-3, but they are scheme versatile. This year, the Houston defense has been outstanding. Again, 47 sacks. I believe they allowed the least
Yeah, they
yards
were
per
a really
game.
good defense. Like, but there was some
Or
excellent talent
they
there.
were top 5 in yards per game. In the secondary especially, so you would need to get the corner group. You would need to upgrade the corner group specifically. I think like edge rusher would Micah, Will Anderson, like yeah.
Corner room's probably your biggest. Oh boy, what are we gonna do there? Which is gonna be the case a lot of times, to be honest.
Hmm. So I think what you're kind of like the worry about him is again, he's been there for a while. So why not? Why has he not been hired away?
Matt Burke, though, Matt Burke's been there since 2023. He was the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins in 2018. So this is kind of his second stint as a defensive coordinator, which is more common than like an offensive coordinator
Mhm.
there. He
Yeah.
hasn't really been getting any buzz either.
There is there is one thing. His like his defensive scheme, when you see Halfley like last year did a lot of like disguises. This year the Houston Texans ran practically zero disguises. They were like, "All right, we're going to show you we showed you what we're going to do. Now beat us." And teams just couldn't because of the talent that they had. So that is kind of like, would he be able to adapt and have the disguises, or would he view like our defense being talented enough to run kind of the same system? Again, probably not, but like he liked to rush with four like a lot, which was working when Micah and Devontae were healthy. But when those guys stopped being healthy, you kind of saw the inability to win with four. So again, it would take some like defensive line revamping a little bit.
Yeah. Which again, I'm not sure the Packers necessarily want to do at this point, which kind of leads into the rising candidates here because they have interviewed two guys so far. And I'll talk about the two guys first and foremost. They have interviewed. First one, Christian Parker. He obviously he's a defensive quality and control assistant underneath Matt LaFleur. He has survived defensive changes in Denver. He is currently the passing game coordinator and DB's coach for the Eagles. Like, he's definitely helped both those squads get much better, all things considered. I know a lot of people wanted Cooper DeJean. He had an interview on Tuesday with the Packers. That's like the third interview he's had, and I believe last time before Hafley got the job, they thought that a lot of the beat writers thought that they offered Christian Parker the job. There is a bit of a learning curve here. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people would think. I like Christian Parker on paper, like, even though he's been a part of that Fangio system, from my understanding and from what I've garnered with him, he's very, very schematically diverse. He's a lot lighter on the Fangio system just because I think you can attest to realistically the only person that can run the Fangio system is Vic Fangio.
Is Fangio? Yeah.
That's literally
Barry
it.
tried it and failed horribly.
Yeah.
Like Staley did it well for like a year. Tried to do it on his own and then got fired. Um,
The only person that can run Vic Fangio's system on his own is literally Vic Fangio.
yeah.
The other guy is Durante Jones. He is the Vikings defensive game coordinator, defensive back. He was the defensive back coach there for the Minnesota Vikings as well. He was also the LSU DC for 1 year. Again,
Mhm.
he's kind of Brian Flores light. Like, basically is what he is. Very, very secondary heavy. This would be a massive jump for him, like on the NFL level. I
Well, if he's
think.
called a defense in college, it's almost harder to do, especially when he would have been LSU, like the LSU DC, because back then they weren't allowed helmet mics, so you were just like trying to get as complex of a call into, or like as complex of a play call into the simplest like signals for the players to understand. So that led to like clear communication skills and everything. And the defenses he would have had at LSU were pretty good.
2021 was not.
Oh, never mind.
It was not fun at all.
Well, was that the year that Stingley like sucked?
Might have it might have been, but I know, who was their coach? I don't wanna not Ed Oliver.
No, wait, Ed
Ed
Oregon.
Oregon,
Ed
yeah.
O. Ed
That
O.
was the year Ed Oregon resigned. So he was there, and then he was gone, then he's back in the NFL. I More importantly, though, I think the 2 guys they're bringing in so far, Durante Jones has an interview set up for, I think either on the day this episode will release, it'll be Wednesday or Thursday. They have 2 big things in common. They're DB coaches. Hafley was known as a DB guru. This, I think, is the most important thing here that we're looking at, is they're looking at guys specifically with a defensive background. And I understand that. Like, I realistically do. Like, you wanna get more out of it. I think they have a good defensive line coach. Communication was an issue. What they want to do with the mirror match scheme that Hafley is, they want to keep that, maintain that here. If you want to win a Super Bowl, continuity is important. You definitely bring in a DB coach here. I like Christian Parker over Jones. I like Jones over Flores just because he has the DB mentality here.
Mhm.
The one guy who I think a lot of Packers fans are clawing for, and I like the more I've researched him, the more I think he is a good fit is Jim Leonard. Obviously, he is the Packers golden boy. He was offered the job once before, turned it down to try and stay at Wisconsin. That never happened. The former NFL player, a lot of instant respect here. And like Wisconsin fans are like, "Oh, well, the Wisconsin defense, well, they weren't the greatest." Those Wisconsin defenses constantly punched above their weight. Given and they had there was
Yeah.
a lack of talent underneath Jim Leonard. Like there was a clear and by far lack of defensive talent, and Jim Leonard was constantly punching upwards and doing a good job at it.
Their best defensive player that would have been there, what like drafted from the team while he was there would have been like Leo Chanel.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes. Yeah.
Or wait, was he
So
there when TJ was there?
no, I don't think so.
No, he wasn't there that long.
No. I think TJ Watt I think Jim Leonard was there in 2017. And then TJ was drafted in what, like 2015?
Liner had the coordinator role for 6 seasons.
Yeah, he was Leonard was the in 2017 is when he started.
Oh yeah, 2017 to 2022. So that would have been right after Watt declared.
Yeah. They didn't have TJ Watt, unfortunately. I like Jim Leonard is very scheme versatile. Obviously, he ran a 3-4 in college, but he is very coverage driven, which I think is the key for Jeff Hafley here as well. If you're transitioning to somebody else, is that Jeff Hafley is very coverage driven. That's why when Jeff Hafley took over, they went out and signed Xavier McKinney. They drafted Javon Bullard. They drafted Evan Williams. You solidified the key spots, and that's very much what Jim Leonard is focused on too as well. I think he brings the respect you want to see. I think he brings the relatability. He he is a he's known as a very strong communicator. We've seen the defensive backs at in Denver, 'cause he's the DB coach there, take their next steps. Like eventually he's going to be a head coach too, so he's probably here for 2 years again. But if you win a Super Bowl, I don't give a rip. Like let's do it. I think to me this is the one that got away. This is my number one hire right now, especially.
Yeah, looking back when I said like the highest player that would have been drafted from Jim Leonard was like Zach Bond or Leo Chanel.
Zach Bond punched above his weight in the NFL too. Like Zach Bond was like what a 4th
Yeah.
round pick, I think.
Third, 78.
Yeah, yeah, and he again punched above his weight there, become a top linebacker. Again, that Wisconsin defense though overall didn't have a lot of talent, but Jim Leonard still made some magic happen to say the least.
Mhm.
The next guy who's getting some kind of buzz here, I think this is one of your guys, Carl Scott.
Not one of my guys, I don't think.
I think he's just on a list somewhere that I found. Carl Scott is he's the defensive back coach and passing game coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks too, as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's who he is.
I see why.
Again, he was the Minnesota. He's been there since 2022, so he was retained there. I think this is. I would rather go with Aiden Dirt over him, just because there's Aiden Dirt has way more experience there. Carl Scott is again just that DB focus. This is again projection heavy. I think this is way more unknown. They might just bring him in for an interview to see what's going on, but other than that, I don't really see it.
I mean, the next two are mine, yeah. I did realize we kind of missed someone as in more of like the coordinator one, that like the proven coordinator. Jim Schwartz or
No,
Jeff Schwartz.
no. I do not want Jim Schwartz on my.
He's done well in
I don't
Cleveland,
care.
and they're trying to keep him. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
keep him.
So
I cannot stand that man as a human being. I am.
what really is he like an awful person, and I'm just not aware of it?
Dude, he's the former Detroit Lions head coach,
Oh,
and they were known
when
as
was he the Detroit Lions head coach?
with Ndamukong Suh that stepped on.
Oh,
curb stomped.
that one, yeah,
Yeah, and they were
okay.
known as a dirty
Mm.
team. I do not like Jim Schwartz. I put him in the same category. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's close to Sean Payton for me in terms of.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think Sean Payton should be coaching in the NFL anymore, given his whole bounty gate. Jim Schwartz is a close second for me.
Okay, but it looks like Cleveland's trying to keep him.
Good. They can.
Segueing into this is another, like, this is a position coach that seems to have survived a regime change in Atlanta. Nate Ollie, the defensive line coach for the Falcons, they're trying to keep him in Atlanta.
Getting a lot of buzz.
He's getting a lot of buzz. He is his first year as a defensive line coach, helped the Falcons be second in sacks with 57.
I do. Yeah, I do like my sacking of the quarterbacks.
Mhm. He seems to bring that high energy. It's you see the energy that the defensive line played with in Atlanta, like how Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., and who are their defensive tackles? I can't remember. Brandon Dorless, among others. Like they were playing with that fire. You could see how technically sound they were, especially with like Jalen and JPJ being in their first year in the league.
Yeah. Oh, they had a guy I really liked, Ruke Ahoro, who as
Oh,
well
Ruka
at
Rororo.
Ruke Ahoro. I liked him coming out. Yeah.
That's say that one 5 times fast. Yeah, but as you said, like this would be a massive leap to defensive coordinator because he doesn't have any defensive coordinator experience previously. He's only been a position coach for a year, like a dedicated position coach for a year. And as you mentioned, they're looking at someone with like defensive back experience. This guy doesn't have it. He's only really focused on the front end. But if you have a kick-ass front four, the quarterbacks could be like have a little bit less pressure on them. So
Yeah, if you have a really good front four there, like that's obviously going to help a lot for your secondary, like you said. But I mean, the only year of experience is going to be why the Packers might go. I don't know about
yeah,
that. Like I get
yeah, I'd
it,
be like, sorry,
but
thanks.
man, the energy he brings, like
I know.
it is on
I
fire.
feel like he could be very similar to like Hafley, where he's like, you listen to this dude speak and you just go, wow.
Definitely be interesting
My
there.
the last guy I kind of want to bring up is Aubrey Pleasant.
Former Green Bay
He's the Rams'
Packers.
assistant head coach. Oh yeah. Oh, he was on this team.
Was
I forgot. Yeah.
here.
Was he in here while Barry was, or was it before Barry?
He was the offensive assistant a couple years ago. I think it was
Okay.
with
So he's
Barry.
transitioned from that. He's the Rams' assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator.
Yes. Yep. He was the DB coach in 2023, and then he transitioned to assistant head coach and passing game coordinator. He was just an offensive consultant for us in 2022. He was, I believe, let go from Detroit because he was the defensive back coach 21 to 22 there, and passing game coordinator as well.
Mhm.
But that Detroit team was, was what it was.
Yeah.
The important thing though is, like you said, he's a
It's
DB guru and he's knows Matt LaFleur.
he'll know Matt LaFleur, and the thing too is the assistant head coach title. Like I think that's a big one. That helps with the leadership. If Sean McVay is willing to give you the assistant head coaching title, that's got to speak volumes about you as a coach and as a person.
Oh yeah.
So like you'll have respect in the locker room. But you did mention like not all defensive back rooms for him were like top level. But again, like that helps with like that could be like what kind of talent he had to work with.
I also think Detroit is just cursed for their secondary.
That's true. And then there's the schematic debate is like, what does he bring you as a play caller? Because he will have to do that in Green Bay.
I mean, I liked what I've seen because he is the passing game coordinator for Detroit, for the Rams, and I've liked what I've seen there. Like I definitely think that there's some similar styles.
But how much of that was Chris Shula versus him?
True. That's a good point.
Like these are the questions that you will have to have about these people that like you just don't have that experience calling plays and being that schematic architect. Like this is my argument against Al Harris. Like yes, he could be a great leader, but I don't trust him to build the scheme completely. Like he could be a great leader and a great coach for defensive backs, but when you're building a defense around 7 other guys too, how much can you do for those players?
Yeah, and Al Harris is kind of one I did leave Al Harris off the list just because of kind of stuff I've heard about Al Harris, just him wanting to remain.
I've heard he wants to stay as a like DB coach.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I've heard that, and he's just more of an X's and O's guy. He's not really an X's and O's guy. He's more of I want to teach people how to be a really good cornerback or
like defensive back, which is kind of like an X's and O's thing. He just doesn't really like it's like I said. There's 7 other people on the field for the defense. And if he can't help you with those 7 other guys, like that's unfortunate. So,
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there's 2 other guys. Like obviously, the Packers have a history of promoting from within, much to our begrudging dismay here.
Yes, but like if they promoted Covington, I wouldn't be upset.
I don't know. I don't know. And
it's
again,
promote Covington and then nail like the defensive back coach hire.
Here's my thing with Covington. Okay, he obviously has experience with that with the Patriots.
Horrible Patriots team he was given.
It was a horrible Patriots team. I like DeMarcus Covington as a defensive line coach the best. I think that's where he needs to stay because of what I've seen from the D tackles moving forward here. I would rather promote. I mean, because like I said, the Packers are looking really at DB focus here. I like Derek Ainsley. He is a former defensive coordinator as well. He has a strong background in defensive backs, which is important. I think that puts him on a leg up above DeMarcus Covington. He is our passing game coordinator too as well. Like, I think if there was one guy to make who would get a second chance here, I think it would be Derek Ainsley. He's probably like 5th on my list. And he's probably higher on my list than most of these other coordinators here. Maybe even 4, I'd argue, to be honest, of where I'm kind of at with this list here. If they did promote, I'd be less upset at them promoting if they did an internal hire. If it was Derek Ainsley, like he would probably he's probably more my favorite internal hire. Like the more I talk about it is I would like Derek Ainsley if they did an internal hire. I don't want them to do an internal hire at all whatsoever. I think there's more value in them going out and pulling a guy off the street in this instance than there is in promoting from in-house. So with that being said, who are your top 3?
Leonard's in there, obviously.
So 1, 2, 3. I want your 1. Your
1, 2, 3.
Your 1, 2, 3.
Okay, 1 for me is Aiden Durd.
I respect that.
2 for me is Jim Leonard. 7 for me, or not 7.
7.
3 for me is Matt Burke. He's 7th in our list that we went through on our doc. That's it confused me. So 1, Aiden Durd. 2, Jim Leonard. 3, Matt Burke.
Yeah. I would probably my
like
1.
Christian Parker would be 4 for me if we're going that far. Like he's the honorable mention.
I like that. I do like that. See, for me, I'd like switch 1 and 2. I would go Leonard, Durd, Christian Parker, and then Ainsley is probably my honorable mention. Like realistically here, like I think Jim Leonard probably makes the most sense, but I know that there are some Wisconsin fans out there who are like the golden boy. I don't want to deal with all that kind of a thing, which I get.
Yeah,
I do get it, but at the end of the day, I think he's good at. I think he's good at football, and from the interviews I've seen of him and such, I think he's a very smart guy. It is going to be interesting here to see what direction they go. I obviously think they're going with a defensive back focused defensive coordinator here. We're going to have a lot to talk about roster wise because this defensive coach is going to have some holes he needs to fill, especially coming up here with Brian Gutekunst getting his extension, the NFL draft coming up. We got a lot to talk about, to say the least.
I think free agency, it'll be free agency first of anything.
Free agency,
and then,
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how active they are, which I don't think they'll be that active at all whatsoever.
No, they won't be active. Probably not. It's gonna just be bye Quay, bye Malik Willis, bye Romeo,
bye a lot of guys.
Maybe we keep Sean Ryan on an injury discount.
Yeah, maybe here, but we got a lot of episodes
on Friday. We'll have to talk about Trayvon Diggs and his future on the team if he has one. So
yeah, we'll definitely, Friday's episode will be a lot more roster focused. So tune in next time for that. That's all, folks. Go Pack, go!
To Packers fans coast to coast, thanks for going beyond the frozen tundra. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, go Pack, go!